Greetings everybody! For once, today I will not be going into a lengthy video essay of sorts, as I wanted to talk about a decision I once made that absolutely changed my life. In a nutshell, it's a decision that led me to become a fan of Godzilla. And while that may sound unimportant, trust me, it ended up changing my life in ways I wouldn't have expected. It's a decision that played a major part in me developing into the person I am today, a decision that led me to meet several of my best friends, and a decision that led to the creation of this channel that you're watching right now. So technically, this all began when I was like 3 years old, and when I was 3, I thought big animals were neat. Like, I remember liking cows because, hey, those things are like the size of a person! Wow! Then I learned that whales existed. The idea of these massive animals existing on our planet just swimming around in the ocean blew my little mind. Anyway, soon after, my parents bought this set of books that were shortened novel versions of classic stories at our local Costco. This ends up at Godzilla, I promise. I looked over this set of books, and one caught the attention of my little whale-loving child brain, as it had a big whale on the cover of it. And this book was Moby Dick. Haha, it says dick as in pee-pee, laugh. Since I couldn't really read yet, my dad read it to me several times, and I loved it. See, whales are already giant, but this book is about a gianter whale. This led to my dad eventually showing me the 1956 film adaptation of Moby Dick, starring Gregory Peck, and I became obsessed with this movie. There'd be times when my dad would be in his room, find the Moby Dick movie playing on a classic movie channel on TV, and instead of calling me in to watch it, he turned the volume up, as by then, I could overhear the theme of the movie playing in another room, recognize it,
Yo! Ah!
and I'd immediately rush into my dad's room to watch it. Yeah, what were you watching when you were 5? The Mickey Mouse? When I was 5, I was watching people stab at a giant whale while it murdered them in retaliation. Well, that and Mickey Mouse. Honestly, I didn't really have a full grasp on the story of Moby Dick when I was little, due to how, 5-year-olds weren't the intended audience for this story. But man, I loved watching that giant whale break a bunch of shit at the end. Of course, now that I am an adult, I now fully understand the whole story of Moby Dick, and I have a grand appreciation for it. But I still love watching that giant whale break a bunch of shit at the end. I still root for Moby Dick to this day. I like just about every Moby Dick adaptation, even that stupid modern one from the guys that made Sharknado, and even that obscure 90s anime one where it's set in fucking outer space. And always, the giant whale monster breaking stuff is my favorite part. We're almost at Godzilla, I promise. Thank you for your patience. Anyway, all that to say that this passion for the 1956 Moby Dick film got me into not only classic movies, but classic movies about big monsters. This led little me to discover a lot of classic monster and creature films like King Kong, Them, and It Came From Beneath the Sea, to name a few, and later ones like Jaws and Jurassic Park. This all just fueled my passion for these kinds of movies. Then, in 2013, one evening, my dad called me into our living room. He told me that a monster movie had just come on that he thought I'd like, and this movie was Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. See, there he is, told you we'd get to Godzilla. I'll never forget seeing Godzilla for the first time. Like, when he rounded that corner of the building, I was immediately captivated by this awesome-looking monster on the screen in front of me. And then the movie itself, holy shit, I've seen movies about giant monsters, but giant monsters fighting each other? Damn, what an incredible idea! This monster even shot a laser beam looking thing of explosive death out of his mouth. Wow! Needless to say, I now knew what a Godzilla was, and I thought it was cool. However, I wasn't exactly a fan by any means yet. It was merely one really cool monster movie in a sea of other monster movies that I had seen. Then, a while later, back on the Classic Movie channel, I discovered that Godzilla had more than just one film, and had been around for longer than I thought he had been, as I came across Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Once again, this was really neat. I absolutely loved the movie. But even though it was neat to see that this Godzilla monster had more movies than I had realized, to me, it was still just a cool couple of films in the vast variety of monster movies out there, and I wasn't exactly a fan yet. But that would soon change. It was May of 2014. I had just spent the night at a friend's house, and the following day, his father offered to take us to the theater to see a movie. Now, on the drive over from his house to the theater, my friend would talk about the movie that he thought we were probably going to go see, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, while I was of course a fan of monster movies at this point, I was naturally a fan of superheroes as well. I mean, growing up I had a few of the comics, I had seen some of the movies, I had shows like Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Spectacular Spider-Man, bunch of good stuff. So naturally, I loved a lot of superheroes, including Spider-Man. So of course, I was really interested in seeing the new Spider-Man movie. I had seen ads for it, and it looked pretty cool. However, there was one thing that was kind of bugging me about going to see it. It was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I hadn't seen the first Amazing Spider-Man film yet. I don't know how, I mean I ended up seeing a lot of the others, but I had just never seen The Amazing Spider-Man. Anyway, we got to the theater, and we got in line to get tickets for a movie. But while in line, I guess since I was the guest, my friend's dad asked me what movie I wanted to see, and told me what movies the theater was showing for me to choose from that he thought we'd like. Those movies being The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and another big blockbuster film that I hadn't heard of before then. A film called Godzilla. Yeah, I somehow had no idea this movie was coming out. I did eventually see ads for it on TV a little later, but I hadn't seen them at that point yet. I really knew nothing about it. I just remember seeing the poster there for the first time and thinking, hey, Godzilla? I know who that is. He's that one movie monster I saw those couple of times. Yeah, look at him on that poster. He's got those spines and everything that I remember. I didn't know he was still getting movies. That's cool. I turned to my friend's dad and told him about how I knew what Godzilla was from other movies with him I had seen, and that he was a really awesome monster that had a cool radioactive beam thing that shot out of his mouth and stuff. So then, it came time for my friend's dad to ask me the question of all questions. Hey, so which movie do you want to see? My friend told me he didn't mind which movie we saw either way, so the decision was all on me. I took a moment to really think it over. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Godzilla? And then, I made my decision. I wasn't entirely sure of my decision, but nevertheless, I said that I'd like to see Godzilla. And the only reason I went with Godzilla is because, yeah, I hadn't seen The Amazing Spider-Man, and I didn't know how I felt about seeing a sequel to a movie I hadn't seen yet. But Godzilla, on the other hand, that movie wasn't a sequel, and I knew who Godzilla was and thought it would be cool to see him in a new movie. So, we went to see Godzilla. I walked into that theater as a casual Godzilla enjoyer, but I left a Godzilla fan. Because holy shit! I loved that movie so much. Godzilla looked so good in the form of modern special effects. He was super intimidating, he had his awesome atomic breath, and he absolutely shattered my ears in the theater with that one roar scene. You know the one. If you saw this movie in theaters, you know the one. I left that theater now super interested in seeing as much of Godzilla as I possibly could. And it was because this movie finally pushed me off the deep end with my interest in Godzilla. But Blotswave, Godzilla didn't get a lot of screen time in the movie, and the characters are— Shut up, shut the fuck up. I don't care. I do not care. The movie blew me away. It made me a Godzilla fan, and it has a soft spot in my heart because of this. Actually, same for Godzilla vs. Megaguirus for that matter. Since it was the first Godzilla movie I ever saw, it now also has a super special place in my heart. I mean, it's also got two giant monsters fighting, crazy kinds of action. Oh, and it has a black hole gun. A fucking black hole gun! Anyway, yeah, back to that other Godzilla movie. Again, I love that movie. It displayed Godzilla, the destruction that comes with him, and his battles in a way that I hadn't seen before in that form. It had tons of incredible moments, and not even all of them had Godzilla in them. Like that scene where Joe Brody has to watch his wife die legit made me tear up a bit. It was the first time I could remember that a movie made me do that. Of course, it was mostly because of Bryan Cranston's phenomenal acting in this film, but still, it was the first time I could remember that a movie made me do that. Nevertheless, I left the theater with a newfound love for Godzilla. This led me down a road of discovering all the other Godzilla films and countless other pieces of Godzilla media, and eventually, I got so passionate about it, I made a YouTube channel called SGG Shin Goji Guy. No, I'm serious. I had just seen Shin Godzilla and I was super excited about it. I wanted to make a channel for some kind of Godzilla videos and work Shin Godzilla into the name somehow, but I didn't fully understand how the YouTube name thing worked, so that's what I put out. But nevertheless, I now had a YouTube channel of sorts. I had no idea where I was going with it. I was young. I just wanted to make a Godzilla channel for the sake of making a Godzilla channel because I thought it'd be fun. I uploaded some atrocious first video. I'm never letting anyone see this ever again. Well, over the years, after trying a few weird content style type, I eventually started to really try to make my channel into something, and expanding it to cover more of my interest. And it's because of this channel that I came across some people that are now some of my best friends. But not only that, this interest of Godzilla led to me getting into other interests, eventually leading me to rediscover Transformers, which eventually got me into G.I. Joe, which soon enough made me want to go to some conventions, and at one of those conventions, I met someone in David K's line, who today is another one of my best friends. And it's still not just that, it's all the little decisions as well that came about because of Godzilla, like starting a collection, reaching out about my interest in other forms, and just so much happened in my life. Even the fact that you're watching this video right now, that never would have happened had I not become a Godzilla fan, which I only became because I merely decided to go see his new movie one day over The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It was a decision that I didn't think was that big at all when I made it, but little did I know that a decision as little as choosing to see one movie over another would change my life forever. The 2014 Godzilla film recently turned 10 years old, which means I have now been a proud Godzilla fan for a whole decade now. And that's why I wanted to make this video, to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of this film, and the fact that it's also the 10-year anniversary of me being a proud Godzilla fan because of it. I just wanted to share this story with you all, and how one simple, seemingly insignificant decision absolutely changed my life. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in to listen to this story of mine that's really special to me, and feel free to leave a comment about how you became a Godzilla fan, or just became a fan of something you're passionate about in general. In the meantime, thanks again for watching, and you know what? Happy 10-year anniversary to Godzilla 2014. Happy 10-year anniversary to me being a Godzilla fan as well, I suppose. And big thanks to my friend's dad for taking us to the theater that day and letting me pick what movie we saw at the theater. Also, not gonna lie, remember how I said I didn't know anything about the 2014 Godzilla movie going into it? I mean that. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know there were even other monsters in the movie. So, because of this, when I first saw the Muto, I thought that the Muto was Godzilla. I'm not kidding. I thought the cocoon was like the end of Godzilla's tail sticking out of the ground, because it just kind of looked like the tip of his tail, and it had the little light pulses going through it, which I thought was him charging up his atomic power or something as he does. Then they blasted the end of it off, and when the Muto came out, I thought it was supposed to be Godzilla's new form? See, they showed Godzilla getting hit by a nuke at the beginning of the movie, and I thought this had like really burned Godzilla. You know, really deep fried him, made him crispy because of all the heat he was bombarded with from the blast. So I thought that this was him rebirthing himself like a butterfly out of a cocoon. Sure, I thought this new form was really strange looking, but I literally thought this was Godzilla until the scene ended and I went, you know what? I think that may have been a different monster. Yeah, I have no idea why I was that damn stupid.